What we have here are two kites, one that's just drawn on a piece of paper and a kite I recently made. Now, I'm showing you these two kites for a couple of reasons. One, the bow that's in this kite is exactly the same length as the bow in this kite. This kite has wingtips here and here. This kite has wingtips here and here. Same size spine, same length kite, same length bow, but the bow has a different curve. This one, the curve is more severe, and in this kite, the bow has almost no bend at all. It's very, very shallow bend, right? Here's the wingtip, and here's the bow. So this brings up a couple of different issues that I think are important to discuss. This kite has a hem, as you can see here. This dotted line is the fold line, and this leading edge is 13 inches, and the trailing edge is 15.5 inches, also with a hem. Now, this kite was designed many, many, many years ago between me and a Japanese kite maker that I no longer can remember the name of, but he was brilliant and really understood not only kites, but bamboo. Boy, he was an expert with bamboo. And this kite was designed for the Drachenflug Foundation when it was in gear as a kit kite so that it could be easily cut out, folded, use a glue stick because it's paper. This is washi paper, rice paper, and hem it, and a matchstick bamboo bow, matchstick bamboo spine. That was the original goal of the design, which it worked great. But I had forgotten all about this kite and was digging around in a kite box that I was looking for something else entirely and found this, and it brought back good memories. But also, I wanted just to show you how this curve right here in the bow is so shallow that it doesn't create the same amount of tension on the sail surface as the kite that I showed, as this kite does. Now this kite, because it's bent, the bow is bent a little more, as its bend increases, the amount of tension increases also up to a point. And then at that point, you can bend it a lot and it'll either break or not, but it won't create more tension. That's just the function of a carbon fiber or fiberglass rod. With bamboo, it's a little different. If you were to make this out of bamboo, and this one also, you can make the bamboo spine and the bamboo bow to be any kind of stiffness you want, just by carving it, shaping it, what have you. But the beauty of this kite, no matter what materials you use, the beauty of this kite is when you have the bow on the sail and you fold over the leading edge hem, the hem encloses about 2 inches or 2.5 inches of the tips of the bow here. And then if I were making this kite, I would add about in here a piece of tape that would go from around the leading edge up and over the bow to help prevent that bow from allowing the leading edge to slip underneath it in certain wind conditions. But this kite, because the tension on the sail is relatively low and the kite sail is quite large, this kite is designed to fly in light winds. That was our intent when we did it. And there isn't a lot of stress on the sail. So the sail could be made out of very fragile paper, like tissue paper. And that was also one of the considerations. Instead of washi paper, use some other, maybe less fragile, because washi is quite durable. One interesting thing here is that we created in the pattern the reinforcement for the nose, where this piece here would be cut, folded over, and wrapped around the spine. And the same here. They cut these out and put these at the wingtips to help strengthen the wingtip bonding of the bow. And then this cuts out and is put at the tail, similar to the way the the nose is done, in order to bond the sail better at the tail of the kite. Now, the trailing edge hem, to me, is optional. I don't generally like the way a hem on a trailing edge affects the kite's flight. It depends a lot on the material of the sail and how the hem is actually made and the size of it. But this could be used as a hem to strengthen the trailing edge, which is a good idea, or it could be eliminated. Now, if you use a fragile material for the sail, like paper, or like anything really lightweight that could tear relatively easily, then it would be a good idea to put at least some sort of a strengthening along the trailing edge, whether it be a hem or a hem maybe half this size. That would work real well. But the distance from the wingtip to wingtip is 22 inches. The spine is 18 inches from here to here. From the nose to where the wingtip line crosses the spine, it's 7 inches. And then from the tail, measure up 6 inches, and that's where the lower connection for the bridle would go. And on the original plan, the upper bridle was going to be connected at the crossing of the bow and the spine. So it would be a 2-point bridle. If I were making the kite today, I would use a 3-point bridle, and I would connect the upper bridle connections on the bow about 1.75 to 2 inches on either side of the spine. And then I would use this as the lower bridle leg. I would make a loop here, connect it, and then Lark's Head the lower bridle and tie it here. Now, using a glue stick and paper makes kite making very quick, easy. All the materials are readily available and quite inexpensive. And since that's the case, if you have a piece of bamboo or if you have a carbon fiber rod that's 22 inches long, you could easily make this kite. And if it were to get damaged, you could just salvage the spine and salvage the bow and cut out another piece of paper or whatever the material was. This kite flies very easily in light to moderate winds. It isn't particularly fast. The speed of the kite is impacted negatively in this instance, in part by the amount of straight leading edge here when the wind, see here, this kite doesn't have the straight leading edge. The leading edge comes in and then it follows the shape of the bow from here. Well, this kite on the paper, the leading edge is perfectly straight. And although that gives you a very high amount of sail area, which helps with low wind flying, it gives the wind an awful lot of sail area to push over, to roll over on top of the bow, which this does not. And as a result, this shape of kite is almost always slower than the other one. Now, slowness in a fighter kite is not a bad thing at all, in my opinion. But everybody has their own goal or own idea of how they want the kite to perform. And if high speed is something you're interested in, this general shape of a kite would not be where you should be headed. But if you want a kite that is relatively easy to precisely control and flies in almost any wind, this is the shape to get, and make the kite from this. Now, one thing that I often do is put battens on my kite, strips of thin carbon fiber, and you can put them on. This kite would benefit from them because anytime the trailing edge is fluttering, which this has a long trailing edge, it would be fluttering a lot during flight, a little piece of carbon fiber or small cross section of bamboo or plastic stir stick or anything that's relatively stiff, put a couple of those here or at this angle or parallel like this. It doesn't seem to matter much. They all work that same way at reducing the amount of fluttering and making the kite fly better and quieter. So this was a real good discovery, and I'll make a kite using this pattern to show you what I would do in the construction. But I wouldn't use paper. I would use polyfilm, just like I typically do in all my kites these days and have for years. Just this thin plastic gift wrap or florist wrap or whatever it's called. It's more durable than paper, especially in damp or wet weather. Paper and wet weather just doesn't happen to be a good combination. The paper just dissolves. So that's what I would do. And I would make the kites knowing it is going to be slow, but highly predictable and easy to maneuver. That is one real good benefit of this shape of a kite. You sacrifice the speed, but you gain precise control and maneuverability. I will include in the description below a link to a PDF file that gives the dimensions that are critical to draw the plan, along with a little discussion about the kite. And hopefully, if you want to make one, that will be helpful for you as well.